Hey viewers, please don't forget to subscribe if you like the channel. Let's go.
Women, tell us why you are currently cheating on your so. I cheated on my boyfriend of 4 years about 12 months ago. It was a bad time, I'd fallen very ill very quickly, and being only 22/23, neither of us knew how to deal with it. We both quickly went from being this young, carefree couple, to having this massive problem hanging over us. His reaction was, go hospital, take meds, get better, and he never really understood the pain I was in or the concerns I had for the future. When I developed depression because of my other health concerns, he'd say things like, can't you just cheer up? Or find other ways to brush it off and not take it seriously. I don't blame him for not understanding properly, but I do hold him responsible for not trying, for not attempting to sympathize. One of my friends, however, was very supportive. We'd spend hours and hours online or on the phone talking, him listening to my problems for the majority of it. He never pressured me to cheer up or get over it already. He made me feel worthwhile again. He helped re-establish my confidence and my sense of self-worth, which I was starting to abandon. I was the one who initiated the affair. My boyfriend and I hadn't had sex in about 2 to 3 months, mostly because of my own insecurities that developed as a result of my condition, and I was by this point convinced that the only reason he stayed with me was to avoid dumping the sick girl. My bones felt weaker, I lost a lot of weight and muscle, some of my joints in my hands had started to twist and looked horrible. My skin was pallid, I was tired all the time, and some of my hair had been lost thanks to the medication I was on. I can't really describe how it feels to hate yourself so much, and yet think that someone still finds you attractive. I was so grateful, which sounds quite pathetic now, but it meant the world to me at the time. We slept together on about 5 or 6 different occasions, over the course of a few months. We were discreet, but I didn't lie when I told my boyfriend where I was going, or who I was going to see. As far as he was concerned, we were just friends, but I know he started to realize there was something going on between us. It was also around this time that my boyfriend's mother became ill with a condition very similar to my own. I'm not sure what went through his mind during this time, but I think seeing his mum in pain sort of woke him up to the idea that I wasn't just being dramatic, or putting it on, or exaggerating how bad it was. His mum was, and still is, a very headstrong and determined woman, and the sudden realization that she could be brought to tears by this disease awoke him to just how bad it was. In a short time, his attitude towards me changed. I'm not sure if it was his mum's condition, or the thought that I might leave him that suddenly made him switch like that. Maybe it was a little of both. I had been committed, at this point, to leaving my boyfriend and maybe even starting a new relationship with my friend, but I knew that any relationship which started from me cheating on someone else would never work, and my friend also deserved better than that. People may look down on him for what happened, but he is without a doubt one of the few people why I'm still here today. My boyfriend and I never discussed what happened. It remains one of those unsaid things that we both know but don't want to have to bring to light. After a few long talks and a lot of consideration, we decided to give it another chance, and it has surprised me how much he has changed in the past year. I've changed as well. I know I'm more determined now and stronger in my mind, too. I don't sit around feeling sorry for myself, dwelling on the worst that might happen and being generally pessimistic. My condition has improved since my medication settled and we're back to where we used to be before I first turned ill, which is great, because I know we're good together. I wouldn't have stayed with him if I had thought otherwise. I don't by any means condone cheating, and I am truly ashamed that I did what I did, but I think in a strange we have both been changed for the better by the whole experience. We were teenagers when we got together, and this past year has propelled us into something much more serious and committed. I have a history of cheating on most of my exes. I was a flirtatious teenager with a high libido and declared myself a polyamorous bisexual. Once I reached college, I calmed down and decided all that activity was behind me. I still had a high libido, so I decided to never have a relationship until I was certain I could settle down with only one person. I had FWBs and flings throughout my freshman year of college. Towards the end of that term, I felt ready to get into a relationship with someone. Then I met my ex, who I will call Carl. Carl was a nice guy, harmless at first. We had a calm relationship start. Little did I know that the physical part would never happen. He was a horrible kisser, sucked at oral sex, and had a disgusting taste to his dick whenever I tried blowing him. I sucked it up and tried teaching him how to satisfy me and dropped heavy hints on the taste of his member, but he was stubborn and insisted his skills were superb. I eventually looked past the bad foreplay and decided to put off having sex. I made the decision to concentrate on becoming emotionally strong with him. Maybe then he would try to work with me in the bedroom. I started seeing his bad side about 2 months into the relationship. He stopped going out and socializing and preferred to play RPGs, discovered he had a sexual thing for My Little Pony, was a huge furry, and had an odd attachment to his mother. He became aggressive and started trying to wrestle me in the most inappropriate of times. By wrestle, I mean he would randomly pin me down and try to wedge his erection between my legs. I did not welcome the gestures and squirmed my way out of them successfully each time. He started turning into a 4chan asshole, calling people niggers both online and in public, being disrespectful towards my friends, and yelling at me for spending money on necessities such as food and school books. He wanted the money to buy cosplay costumes. I felt this relationship was going to sink into shit if I didn't get out of there. I also had a fear of being single. I genuinely wanted to be in a relationship and settle down with someone. He was not even a boyfriend anymore and was more of a safety net more than anything. I started feeling tired of myself and decided if anything was going to change, it was going to be me. I hit the gym and started working out. I figure I would lose weight, break up with Carl, and start dating again. That was my plan. One day in the gym, a cute bearded guy, Samuel, said hello to me and we started a conversation. He had the brightest eyes I had ever seen on a person. I was smitten. Eventually, we became workout buddies and then texting buddies. Nothing dangerous, just friendly. I found myself spending more time with this guy than my own BF. One thing led to another and we started having a quiet affair. I felt no guilt whatsoever. I was not emotionally invested in the affair, but Sam was. He started making lunches for me and listening to me when I had a bad day. At first, I didn't want to become attached, but his sweet demeanor and his gentle touch was alluring. He wasn't an asshole who stayed on 4chan all day and called girls bitches. He was kind and sweet. He knew I had a boyfriend at the time and confessed his love for me about 3 months into the affair. It became too late and I too felt something for him. I winged it and broke up with Carl while being honest and confessing I had cheated on him. He stated that he hated me, yada yada. I honestly felt no guilt. Call me a bitch or a slut. I honestly do not care. Samuel and I have been together for 6 years and going to grad school together. The sex is amazing and I do not have any regrets for cheating on Carl. Note, I never cheated on Samuel and I plan on staying faithful. The only time I ever cheated on my boyfriend was about 3 days before I was planning on breaking up with him anyway. It wasn't a planned thing or even a thought in my head when it happened. Basically, I had just spent the day with him and he was supposed to be catching the bus that night to go home. We were living in different cities, but it was only a half-hour bus ride. My roommate had a friend come over to help her with some homework as he walked out the door. My least favorite part of this story is that they met about an hour before I cheated on my boyfriend. After their homework was done, he offered to go out and get some wine so we could sit around and drink and watch movies, like the cool college kids. I offered to come with since my roommate wanted to take a quick shower. We jumped in the car and on the way back he started putting his hand on my leg and saying all those nice things all girls want to hear. When we got back, he leaned over and kissed me, and that's when I made the choice to kiss him back. I slept with him that night on a only slightly tipsy whim. I felt horrible the following day, and sped up the breakup with my current boyfriend to later that same day. He still doesn't know I cheated on him. I did it because I figured, wrongly so, that I was breaking up with my current boyfriend anyway, and that made it okay. I hate that I did it because now I know that in any future relationship I have already made that first step towards being a cheater. I can no longer say I have a clean record and promise 100% that I won't cheat again. After that first step, it's hard to go back. I do not suggest cheating on someone. It makes you feel horrible, it isn't fair to the person you are dating or the person you are cheating with, and it's just wrong. I'm a selfish person who is afraid of confrontation. The details are also always the same. We had been dating, with occasional distance in between, for a few years. I cared a lot about him, but he stopped offering me what I needed. He never wanted to drive the 20 minutes to see me. He wanted to hang around with his friends and smoke weed. He stopped appreciating me, and our relationship was stagnant. It happened right in front of him with a good mutual friend, old roommate. We had incredible chemistry and had fought it for years because it was taboo, brushing the issue under the table. But then my boyfriend stopped coming around. Stopped calling me. Stopped wanting to party all night, or adventure. And he left me alone with the other guy on countless occasions so he could go to sleep or browse the internet. I'm not saying he's at fault, but the lack of attention drove me crazy. I should have just ended it. But the thing with the other guy would have never gone over smoothly because of his friendship with my then boyfriend. It seemed like no matter what, my boyfriend would have hated me, so I just let my self-interest run away with me. The reasons are hard to pinpoint. Being a cheater is the worst feeling I've ever had. I hate that I do it, and I hate more that I can't control myself. Obviously I could if I wanted to, but I never do in the moment. I have definite attachment issues and usually have 1 to 2 feet out the door in all relationships. Part of it is intentional sabotage. I also crave attention. I need to feel wanted at all times, and when I don't, I start looking elsewhere. I also love the excitement and the rush of sleeping with someone new, learning their secrets. You just don't get that in a long-term relationship. I'm also very egocentric. But mainly I just follow my own self-interest to a sickening degree. To those interested, I no longer find myself capable of having a monogamous relationship. I get bored and I don't want to hurt people under false pretenses of monogamy. I do want a lifelong partner, but I don't think I'm wired that way. I'm an insatiable flirt and I can't say no to temptation. It really sucks. I am unhappy, but I just can't do that anymore to people I care about. I'll tell you why I cheated on my last so. I would never ever cheat on the man I am with now. So I met this guy online, technically on a dating site, but we met from being forum regulars. He was kind of a troll and a lot of people hated him. I was 19 and going through a goth phase, and he was 26 going through a know-it-all phase. We went on a date after talking for a couple weeks and had sex on the first date. 3 months later, we're still dating and I find out that he has a girlfriend, but they're polyamorous and wanted me to be as well. He manipulated me into thinking that if I loved him, I would let him have a 3-way relationship, so I gave in for a couple of months, but brought my discomfort up for discussion. After fighting, the other girl breaks it off, and he moves from North Carolina back to Florida and moves in with me. He originally lived in Florida, but supposedly got a job offer that never panned out, and my roommate, who hated him. He started out manipulative, then it was verbal abuse, and then it became physical abuse. I tried leaving him multiple times, but he wouldn't allow me to, and I was afraid of him. One day, I'm hanging out with a coworker and we ended up kissing. I had feelings for him, and he was my best friend, but the kiss was totally unexpected. I would come into work with bruises, scratches, etc., and everyone would tell me to leave him. I tried telling him that I wanted to leave, but I was too weak and too scared of him. I started having sex with my friend and would hang out with him just to get away from my ex. After a bad argument, I left my ex but left a lot of stuff at our apartment, and after a month, I went back to living there because I couldn't afford to move out. My ex was sleeping with a friend of mine and somehow manipulated me into being in a relationship with them. After a few months, I ended it. One night, I'm on the couch watching TV with the same guy friend I was sleeping with. My ex said he wouldn't be home that night and that he didn't care if I had someone over. Well, he came home, started yelling at me, and then started hitting me. I finally hit back and tried to defend myself, and my friend grabbed some of my clothes, put them in a purse, and put them by the door. He tried to fight my ex, but my ex is much bigger than him, and I pretty much ended the fight because I got an adrenaline rush, picked up a fire hydrant extinguisher, and threatened to bash his head open. My ex stopped and my friend and I got the fuck out of there. I was homeless for a few months, but I had supportive friends with couches, and it was worth finally leaving him. The best friend that helped me escape is now my fiancé and we're getting married in 17 days. It wasn't like it just happened. I hate when people say that. Like it excuses their actions. It doesn't, and shit doesn't just happen. I knew fully what I was doing when I slept with someone else. Why? Because I was unhappy with lacked the balls to bring up the problem with him, and started to seek happiness elsewhere because I lacked the maturity to confront the problem. At first I wasn't looking to cheat at all, and I guess that's what people mean when they say it just happened and they didn't mean to. But over time, the sexual tension grew with a particular individual. Even before I did any sort of cheating, I didn't tell about hanging out with that dude. Because inside I knew what the deal was. I was seeking affirmation from another person and I liked how the other person made me feel wanted and sexually alive again. I did end up having sex with him and it was alright. It was pretty disappointing actually. I expected it to be amazing and it wasn't, so that kind of shocked me. I still didn't bring up anything to my boyfriend and the guilt was unbearable. I cheated on a second time in a MFF threesome. This obviously was intentional. Again, didn't see it happening, but after a few drinks and a few joints. Yeah. That guilt was heavy, but I still had fun. I questioned monogamy as a whole. I questioned my relationship. The day after that event, I brought up the problem to and it ended up in a breakup, like I knew it would. I realized I'd been being super selfish, waiting for him to talk to me about his problems if something was wrong when I was the one not doing it. It's not that he did anything wrong, he just did not keep me interested and his priorities didn't line up with mine, so we stagnated into a routine, and this in turn made the sex awful. I mean, every time it was awful and I couldn't stand it. I needed a sexual outlet. I really did. I was with him for 6 years. Most of it good, some of it great, and the last year was awful. His depression led to emotional abuse towards me. In part of the time I was with him, I had a friend. I adored this man and he thought the world of me, but we kept our distance because I was committed to my boyfriend. In the last year of my relationship, the BF and I went on vacation for my B-day. The first night I tried to get him back to the hotel room with me for sex, but he didn't want to leave the bar. I went back up to the room, got in lingerie, and took photos. Sent them to my BF, and the response I got back was, "That bra makes your boobs look small." I cried for a while, humiliated and heartbroken. Then I get a text from my guy friend saying, "Happy birthday, miss, thinking of you and hope you are well." We text for a while, he makes me feel cared for. I send him the photos. He writes back saying how beautiful I am, but leaves it at that. Part of me felt crappy about it, but the other part felt justified. This happened 2 other times with the guy friend, and by that point my boyfriend was worse than ever. My family all but stopped talking to me because of him. He refused to go to therapy and would jump between loving and yelling. I left. My ex's life fell to pieces, and I never felt better. I spent months in therapy, and got myself healthy. Dated around for a while. Then my guy friend calls me one night. He and I talk for hours and we discuss it all. He admits he's liked me for years. We've been dating for 2 years and are getting married next summer. I regret emotionally cheating on my ex. I wish I had the courage to leave sooner, but I can't change any of that. His behavior towards me was not an excuse at all, and the thought of doing something like that to my fiancé makes me physically ill. I've learned a lot and I feel lucky for how things turned out, but I still have my regrets on how I acted.